Hello there, collective. This is the Intuitive.Moon.Oracle. Just wanted to start my first reading by saying that I woke up today feeling a different surge of energy. It wasn't so long throughout the day that I realised I would be doing my first reading. It felt right, and I made sure that I got a channeled intuitive hit that this is going to be about releasing. So I guess this reading is going to be purposefully and intently done with the prospect of whoever's watching this is, I suppose, with the last 17, 18 odd days of the year. If you're watching this when it comes out or relatively close, it's about the last bit of shedding, or obviously with the messages being timeless, it could be at any point in your life. But I just knew that this was going to be a release reading. I made sure before I actually came to do the video that I grounded out in my garden for a bit, just sat there barefoot, 20 minutes. I had a bath, which I usually don't do, but I was called to have a bath. I feel like I've emptied myself to allow things to come in for the reading, and yeah, it's going to be different than usual, I think. The concept being that, as I said in my first video, you don't need to have watched it obviously, but I do get the genuine impression that these readings and channels might be slightly different to what other people are doing. I don't necessarily need to explain the ins and outs as to why I've been guided to do it, or why I have a strong impression why it's going to be different. These videos and channels are going to be slightly, they're not necessarily about specific, they're not physical, they're not masculine. These are to help whoever comes across them and feels an alignment with what we get. Whatever progression in your life you're at, it's to help you understand yourself and just help you try to, I don't want to say be a better person, but just we currently, the way the world is at the minute, it's almost like the destabilization of the self is getting worse and worse. And I'm just here to try and help you go to other readers with a more understanding of yourself and everything around you. Not that people that are watching this might not already have that. We all have different insights and perspectives. We're the collective. We figure things out differently. We live different lives, which means we have different things to bring to the table. So I'm actually looking forward to entering the collective and hopefully add some insights and perspectives into people's minds that might help them progress and transition in ways they might not have thought of, to go alongside with what they already know. So it's not going to be the most finesse of readings, but I'm comfortable. We're going with the flow. Sit back, relax. Try not to make it fit too much, because as much as readers say use your discernment, this is again a different type of reading. I'm using the Intuitive.Moon.Oracle cards, which is literally a learner's deck. Didn't know that. Everything about this deck was perfect for me. I already understood it quite a bit. I had a quick look just to make sure that there were some odd cards that I may not have understood, and there really weren't many. It was more just putting a name to the card, because I've never really been one to understand what the last quarter moon and that meant until I actually looked at it and went, oh, that makes sense. The first quarter moon being the one on the left. So it was just small things like that. I don't want you guys to think that I'm completely naive or blind going into this. It's just, this is very new, so it's going to be a bit of a weird process as we go through. But with any journey, you've got to start somewhere, which is exactly the point in this channel, because even if people are at the beginning of what a journey feels like, or they're at the end of a prior journey, I'm essentially here to just try and like I said before, just try and help anyone that's at any level of mastery or is brand new to this. If you're brand new to this, this will actually help more, I feel, because the intent behind the readings and what I'm doing will benefit more newcomers more, because it, again, it's more internal, it's more feminine, it's to help you understand the sense of self and everything around you for the very reasons I already stated, yada yada. But again, we're clear, we're ready. Got a coffee on the go with one of my favourite mugs I got years ago. I will be doing this to try and get a nice little atmospheric thing going, hopefully calm your nerves. Just get comfortable, enjoy the ride. We'll do a quick little one. If you, oh, fuck that up. I like letting it finish. Yeah, that's just to try and clear the ground even more. Yeah, so I'm not sure how often I'm going to go to the guidebook, because now that I understood the odd cards that I might not have been able to call out, that was the key thing I wanted to be able to do. It wasn't necessarily understanding the cards as much. It was more being able to call it what it is on the second I draw it. So we might go to the book after we've done that intuitive hit. The reading itself, I'm going to treat it a bit like not a story, but we'll start somewhere. I've done a little practice one before this, and I got the key, which I very instinctively, without even having tried to do tarot before, pointed out that the key was brilliant, because there was a rose on each side representing what seemed like the shadow self and the higher self. Yeah, you get what I mean. So there was a nice intuitive hit there. It made me feel confident about doing this reading. I wanted to just have a quick little practice run. But yeah, as it stands, we can get going. I'm not amazing at doing that cool thing you see all your tarot readers doing yet. That's the one thing I tried to practice a little bit. I fluffed it up so much at first, but yeah, see, it's not too bad. It's not as good as other readers where they can do it with each single card. But yeah, it's just, I have a strong, very strong feeling. It took a lot of energy build up and then releasing completely to just remind myself of who I am. Which again is something I think a lot of people can do. I've started to notice with the way things are going, a lot of our integrity and our own courage and strength is not being taken away from us per se, but we're getting very forgetful because things are getting a bit more difficult, and I'm not exactly a person that tries to maintain on current affairs. I just try to live my life. I've always been someone that's just tried to help others and so on. So if anything, a lot of this comes from sort of reevaluating my entire life, introspecting in ways that, you know, maybe some people haven't. It would just be nice to be able to help people. I've obviously not done that well again, but like I said, we're comfortable. On the split, we have the key. Oh, and the broken wand. Look at that, nice. So I'll do that again, and we shall get our first card. Oh, nope, sorry, I had an idea as well. So you see them do the knock. I like the idea of opening a door. So if we open the first door, we get the last quarter moon. I'm almost sure at this point that's what it was. Yeah, the last quarter moon. When I was getting this back in the day, when I was doing a slightly altered version of daily readings online, if I remember rightly, it's quite a a more romantic oriented card. So maybe, I'm not going to call it a love reading, that's just silly. I like the idea that with this card, you have the feminine on the right, where the moon is bright. Obviously, being the Intuitive.Moon.Oracle, I like to think that me and the moon have quite a good relationship. I've felt a strong presence with it throughout my life. I've been through some mundane, like 2 in the morning walks and stuff. You just feel a real draw. So I would like to say, if this is going to be the first card in the reading, that the fact that on this card, on the right, where the moon is at its brightest, obviously, is the feminine, like I am. So with that in regard, this could be a very good card, again, like the key about balance. So if you're someone that is maybe in a more relationship-oriented mindset right now, and it's something that's hard on your mind, and that comes from a place of intuition, and I must say, not that I was massively nervous, because again, with the shedding, but my heart intuition chakra was completely going haywire before this reading. So for some, this could be something you get a lot of romantic information and insights to, maybe about the way you're approaching a relationship, or the way someone else is, or just how you value relationships. It might open your eye. We don't know, because the reader might go there. First card again. In the same respect, you've got the shadow self, representing the dark side of the moon, the masculine. Well, that's maybe that doesn't correlate, I don't know, but the idea being is you do have a very strong masculine and feminine presence here. The feminine is being supportive of the masculine, and if you understand the masculine and the feminine in the ways that a lot of people in the spiritual community do, you can see here that she is providing comfort for him so that he can go and do his thing. I know with, I was just about to say with the crows, but this is the crow card as well. So the idea being that if she's like a dove, she is providing that care and support behind closed doors, completely of her own fruition, for the masculine, giving him the kiss on the head, the kiss of life, if you will, by the looks of it. That's quite again, with the introspection, like, I see a card like this, and although I've never done tarot readings, all that just come out of my mouth. So it could be channeled, it could be coming from spirit, I like to call it the universe, things like that, whatever you refer to it to. I think that's quite a good... I'm feeling confident about this now, because that was pretty cool. So we've got the last quarter moon. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Let's just double check we're still recording. Yeah, we're still recording. Cool. I know some YouTubers, it's not an anxiety thing, it's just I know technology can be a bit of a... yeah, sometimes. So, last quarter moon, I'm pretty sure. Yep, okay, last quarter moon. So we've got page 11. I won't be doing this with every card, but let's just see if we can confirm. Forgiveness, letting go, suspension. Again, if it's to do with love, could be a more not so positive situation. Or it could be having to let go of control over a relationship. Maybe you're a masculine who seems a bit more controlling oriented, or you get the idea, if you're a masculine and you feel like you might not have been getting anywhere in a relationship, and then your partner might turn around and say you've been controlling or whatever. Maybe it's something to do with that. Could forgiveness, letting go, and suspension, not suspense, but suspension. The last quarter moon card vibrates with the deep energies of forgiveness, transformation, and the sacred act of letting go. There you go. A woman kissing her lover as he transforms into a crow beneath the waning moon. The metamorphosis, while bittersweet, represents the profound truth that sometimes we must release what we hold dear to allow both ourselves and others to evolve. It suggests that something is nearing its completion in your life, offering an opportunity to let go of what no longer serves you. So again, maybe you're a feminine who's been in a relationship with a masculine, and you might be making the slow progress of detaching, because I know as a feminine, I know it can be difficult when you pour your heart and soul into a relationship, especially like you look at single mothers, the amount of them that must have just poured their hearts out to the people they were with. And especially in my case, you know, you get people who you can spend a long time with them and you can rise them up in ways that not a lot of others can, because you might be a divine feminine or someone who's quite heavily feminine oriented, and then what ends up happening is they might reach a level where they feel like they don't need you anymore, and they forget that you were the thing that sourced them of that power in the first place. And that's not to say that masculines don't have their own power and their own independence and their own strength and courage. It's just there is something that a feminine can do that, if I'm quite frankly honest, although the masculine can live a very thriving life on their own or without a feminine, there's something about a feminine that can just completely, in unpredictable ways, just implode your life. So yeah, in the background, crows take wing. Yeah, in the background, crows take wing against the twilight sky, symbolizing the transferable nature of energy and the power of transformation. Maybe there are people here that feel like they're coming close to getting in tune with their feminine and masculine, which is a very lengthy process for a lot of people. I think especially if you're a feminine who has to learn the masculine and vice versa. Me personally, I feel like the physical side of my life, the masculine had been developing for quite a long time in terms of, you know, never even striving for a leader role or anything, but weirdly as you get older finding that it might actually be something you're attuned to without having it hidden underneath the whole time. Again, I mentioned the balance. I might have mentioned the balance earlier, but it's just the idea that it's obviously going for multiple alternative perspectives, and I think whoever is watching this will understand it based on their own situation. But try not, again, it's so difficult sometimes to know what is your intuition with these readings or in life and what isn't, because there might be people, when you hear things like love and that, you end up thinking about the wrong person, and then you're no longer following your intuition. If you're supposed to be letting go like the card implies, you might end up making it about something it's not. It's just a description of the card, so I don't think we need that anymore, and it's been way too long on the first card. But I will say this as well, these readings are going to be slower than most, I think, because they're more intentionally not character building but character understanding. Opens up the soul a bit more. But yeah, I will try not to be... Is that the third eye? I will try not to be too slow, but I will also make sure that with each card it's been observed, thought about, been present with. Now this is the third eye. This is so, I mean, do we even need to say anything else? The third eye, so we got the last quarter moon. We now have the third eye. That could either be people who are watching this have had a weird hit after hearing that, or I'm pretty sure the third eye, yeah, we'll go. So what connection can we make with these two cards before we actually look? She has no pupils or irises in the original two eyes. Might suggest that not necessarily being ungrounded, but being so optimistic and so understanding of the self and the universe that there is no choice for the first card to be quite a hard intuitive hit for whoever's watching this. Because I think the third eye is sort of to do with knowing. I could be wrong. Let's just get the third eye. 97, that's the year I was born. My name is Danny, by the way. I didn't mention it in the first video. I knew we would have psychic ability, intuition, foresight. The third eye is what we often refer to as our inner sight. This card signifies inner wisdom, intuition, and the ability to see things for what they really are. When you draw the third eye, it signifies that you are being called to rely on your intuition and inner wisdom. It kind of sounds like to me it's adding up. This is the card of enlightenment and signifies a deep connection with one's spiritual self. Right, I will leave that there. We're not going too slowly with these readings. I felt like what I said kind of gave off a good impression anyway. We did the door knock, obviously. I like that idea. I think I'll continue to do it in future readings as well. When I was practicing earlier, the cards were coming out a bit easier. I think I need to be a bit more feral with them to get them to kind of script. Right, I'm going to do this one. We have the basilisk. Fear. I know sometimes when you get the basilisk, it can be dependent on whether or not you've been struggling with fear, or there's the opposite side of it, because here we have a woman on the card. She's kneeling to the basilisk, which would imply that she's either surrendering, again with the theme of surrendering from the first card with the last quarter moon, and then with the intuition here. I'm going to keep this one brief actually, because if we're going to go by the intuition here and then the releasing of the last quarter moon, this woman is very clearly maybe a feminine. Doesn't have to be a man. Oh, sorry, doesn't have to be a woman. It can be a man, but it's a feminine presence. And then the obelisk. It's the basilisk. Sorry. I'm going to treat that as a feminine surrendering, which is funny because I suppose in a way, if the collective who are watching this are feminine, like I am, it's going to coincide a lot with what's been going on with me, which means maybe there's a collective thing going on here where there are like-minded individuals who will come to this reading that may be going through a similar thing as I am in life. Wait, where did that go? 2 seconds. Haha! Right, what do we have? Oh, the owl. I like the owl because I like the owl. I love the owl. The owl is always good signs for me. I like the owl. It's one of the few. I'm not one of those people that tries to make every animal fit, but the owl is one of the ones with me, like the wolf and the tortoise and the octopus and a few others. But the owl, pretty sure again it's another intuitive card, which is weird because we had surrender, correctly using your intuition with the third eye. Go into the surrender again with the feminine over the basilisk because it's a very strong presence. The basilisk is scary and the feminine might be going through some very severe fears right now that they're having to overcome in their life. And then you've got the owl. There are children here, so maybe, there are feminines here, could be single men with children, single women with children. Could be that your partner travels, you could have a partner that travels, but it does look like that the owl itself is protecting 3 little baby owls. I'm going to go with it being another intuition card, but let's see. The owl, 81. 81, I know 8 is obviously infinity, so maybe some people here are going to end up down the line with some home, family and duty. The owl card. Maybe the intuition wasn't as prominent, but the owl card symbolises loyalty, family, wisdom and protection, showing a watchful parent owl guarding its 3 young ones within the shelter of their tree home. This intimate scene speaks to our deepest connections with family, duties of protection and the wisdom passed down through generations. So, okay, with hearing the wisdom passed down through generations and every other card, there may be certain things that people are learning about themselves right now that they could either be trying to put into their family timelines generationally so that their kids may not be, maybe their kids are going to be a bit different, you know. I get where I'm going with that. It's quite weird. I kind of feel like with the intuitive hit and then seeing the pass down through generations bit, it could just be a case of someone balancing out their masculine and feminine, getting very strong with their third eye. As they progress in power, I say power, as they progress with their spiritual power and understanding of things, things could be getting more scary. Maybe a lot around your life is breaking down, everything seems to be disappearing, which is bringing the basilisk to the table. I do hope it's the basilisk, because if it ain't, yep, okay. Could have a multitude of scary things going on in your life, and the end result being either you're realising now that it's things that are going to benefit your children very much, or it's just things that you know can be passed down. Could be information about your family, it could be anything. This card appears when called to examine our roles within our family and our duties to those who depend on us. Maybe the basilisk is representing a fear of responsibility in a family. So you could be someone who has to keep the household together, in tune, in shape, and it could be a lot. I know there's a lot of single parents out there that have to deal with a lot of things. I have a few personally who I speak to. Like the owl's keen sight, piercing darkness. Piercing darkness again with the intuition and the third eye, knowing is the important bit. We're asked to look deeply at our family dynamics and the wisdom inherited from our ancestors. So, could be someone's figuring out things with their third eye after balancing out their masculine and feminine. That's allowing them to learn things generationally about not their inheritance, but what they've inherited from their generations, and they're beginning to learn them as they open up more. I feel like this is actually going somewhere. The card suggests a time when family responsibilities and home life require special attention and wisdom. Oh, I already said that. Right, we're done with that one. Right. What's this card doing? This card. The Storm, I think. Pretty sure it's the Storm. Almost positive it's the Storm. I will not read the Storm just yet. It is the Storm. So we have the Storm here. Again, the masculine and the feminine seem to either be parting ways in line with the first card, separation, but they're not actually looking at each other face to face, but they are turned to each other like they have an interest, like they want to walk away, but they can't stop turning around. Or maybe there is light in this card, in the clouds. It could mean that for some, they've spent a long time thinking about certain people and they can't stop glazing into each other's lives from time to time. On the other hand, it could represent a separation, because it is the Storm card. It doesn't always necessarily mean it's positive. It could mean that with this card, the first card mentioning separation, that everything else we've spoken about already, not needing to repeat it all again, but there is a theme going on here where there's a story building, but it could mean the more darker side of things where, you know, someone is having to separate from their partner, or just whatever format it could be for you. You know, not an easy card to go with, but it does actually kind of add to the story we're doing here. It's kind of strange though, because there's a castle in the background which would suggest that there was an opportunity for a happy life. And with free will, obviously being able to be exertable, there could have been a dream that two people had, or multiple people, and maybe they've been in a relationship for years and they're beginning to realise that it didn't work out, or it's not going the way they thought, as both people, individuals, change and grow. Yeah, I mean, that one's kind of left open to interpretation. It definitely seems like here that there's a lot of mental work going on. I would advise maybe making sure that in life right now, like the octopus, whoever these cards are for, whoever's building a story in their head here, that they're not allowing everything to be overwhelming, because it definitely seems like whoever this reading is for, whoever these cards are for, there's a lot of growth going on, a lot of self-awareness. Yeah, let's 95. I think it says 95. The storm. Conflict, debate, resolution. So maybe there is a certain dynamic going on in people's lives where there was that conflict, there was a debate, or there was a conflict that led to the separation from the first card, that then led to a debate once the separation happened, that then led to a resolution. Or there's the other side to it, where there could have been conflict and debate and then separation, and the resolution could be that you're not meant to be together, or just a resolution of some kind. That can come in many shapes and sizes. But again, this isn't a love reading, it's an understanding of, this could be absolutely nothing to do with relationships. It could more be to do with understanding the self. There's very much a strong presence of someone growing here internally, and they're battling with it. So they're either battling with the masculine and the feminine, or they're battling with relationship things that will be more down to the individual. I think I'm going to grab these three. Got a 3 card piece here. So the first card, the werewolf. Now I'm pretty sure I'm almost positive the werewolf is a card of, like, with everything else going on in these cards, it's led to an awakening. And with that awakening can spark a lot of chaos and conflict. Because I'm almost positive this card is, with everything else here, someone's going to have a realisation in this video, or again, because things aren't as quick as we think they are in this world, they could be building up to a realisation, they could have had the realisation, and this is what's happened. Whether or not it's you dealing with your internal masculine and feminine, or it's a partner, or it's children and family, you know, the owl bit, children and family could have nothing to do with it. Again, with the discernment thing, this could be a reading for a multitude of collectives, or a multitude of different individuals. But yeah, the werewolf card is definitely exactly what I said. I mean, we'll go here and we'll just, I know the werewolf card's at the back. So the last card, the werewolf. Sharp, shape-shifting, transformation, instinct. So we have another instinct card. Shape-shifting, again, is sort of like the presence of things just being completely, not chaotic, but, you know, your form of shape-shifting could be, all of this has happened, you're completely imbalanced, and you've woken up, and the shape-shift is that you're calm and composed, because that was a strong feeling we got with the basilisk. Transformation, shape-shifting and transformation kind of sound like the same thing to me anyway. The werewolf is a card of transformation, shape-shifting and primal instincts. So someone here could be, they could have been in the astral a lot, and now they're coming back to earth, they're grounding a lot more, they're coming back to their senses in their own life, and they're reaching a point where there's a balance being achieved between staying grounded and staying in the astral without one or the other outbalancing one another. It's about the stripping away of the masks we wear in day-to-day society to expose who we really are. So again, it's almost like someone here is discovering who they are as their soul. And with that is leading to this werewolf transformation. This card may represent your inner desire to roar, to break free from the constraints of politeness and fragility, to let the wildness inside you reign. Again, I believe that this card can heavily imply that there is a chaotic thing going on, because if this is the story we're playing out, it's going to lead to a lot of disruption in your individual life, because friendships, partnerships, jobs, all of it is going to completely get thrown up in the air because you're no longer the same person, which means you're no longer understanding or fitting in to the dynamics of what your life was before. I said earlier about, again with the year of the snake, I said earlier about things disappearing from your life. This could be a very strong indication of that. Or it could suggest an upcoming transformation and metamorphosis, where everything you thought you knew about yourself is thrown into question. Again, it's more of the same. It could be one or the other, and that's dependent on the individual, the soul, watching the video. On this, I don't need to describe what the card is. The second card, Hourglass, Patience. I said earlier that, I'll get into this card a bit more. I said earlier about the patience, how not everything goes as quick as we think. This kind of development process is not something that happens overnight. So the Hourglass could be calling to apply more patience, and if you're someone where this is all come together, maybe it's not about patience, maybe it's not about needing more patience. It could just be an indication that you're exactly doing what you need to be doing. You could be as patient as you need to be when you need to be, not patient when you need to be. There are some growing vines here, or some seeds that are starting to grow. So with that, patience could have resulted in the growth, because you were patient in this whole scenario, which now means you're leading to better things with the rainbow. Hourglass. 65. Patience, healing, time. I'm not even going to look at that because that was just on point. First quarter moon. So we started with the last quarter moon. We ended up at the first quarter moon. This lovely individual here, she's alone. So maybe this is more about a separation. The first quarter moon, I think, is sort of like going to be related to the year of the horse, maybe, in the sense of this woman here comes across as very strong with everything that's happened here. It might be a masculine, it might be a feminine, because if I'm honest, I see both of the masculine and the feminine in this card. You know, there are butterflies on display in the woman's hair, which is a sign of rebirth. Having gone through the chrysalis however many times you have, and finally having broken out. And you may start the year a lot like this woman, you know, with all of this going on. It's amazing how there's such a strong presence. She has a weapon. She has a snake around her wrist, which could represent the progress from the year of the snake. In a weird way, this is the year of the snake. There's a snake on this card. We're coming towards the end. Maybe the snake is there as a reminder of what this year did in this whole story. Because this could have taken a whole year. It could have taken however long, whoever it's for. Yeah, I'm seeing a strong presence here. Because, you know, this woman isn't ready to use that staff, but she still has it just in case. And It's almost like this whole story has led up to this. It's a transformation. This is not perfection, because that's not what this story is about. It's a knowing of who you are. She's ready. He's ready. It looks like this woman is in balance with her masculine and feminine. So this whole reading could have literally had nothing to do with relationships. This could have been about the balance of the masculine and the feminine. The children could be the child self, if you want to look at it like that. If anyone's somehow managed to get to this point in the reading and kept hearing me talk about family and relationships and been like, where's my bit? There it is. Do you know what? I feel like that's a good place to end the first reading. If you did watch all of it, thank you. I hope this didn't go as in the way that I thought it was going to. As much as I've used my intuitive hits, it feels a lot... Well, yeah, again, because I've not... Yeah, I'm happy with that. I was told it wouldn't go the way I thought it would. The way I read the story, it was... I didn't start talking about the cards and help with the reading in the ways I thought I would. It was almost like my instinct took over. Who knows? But so we have the last quarter moon, the third eye, the basilisk, the owl, the storm, the werewolf, the hourglass, and the first quarter moon, representing beginnings. Because it is, well, that was one thing I was going to say earlier, but I went off track, and now that I'm back to my mind, this is talking about a very strong, not, it's almost like the card itself is saying, whatever story this is for you, you're about to enter the year, or whatever year it may be, or whatever time in your life, this next chapter, you're not only going to understand yourself or your partner or however it fits. This chapter is strong. That's all I'll say for now, because it's my first reading. But yeah. So this has been Intuitive Moon Oracle. Peace.